Amal Ahmad is a economics researcher, so she's not a scholar of international relations. It's just quite an interesting article because she uses an economic method broadly. International relations theorists do also use game theory, which you don't need to understand, but essentially it's a way of modeling uh, outcomes and the possibilities of certain outcomes being achieved. So it's quite useful for thinking about whether peace could be achieved. And what Ahmad, essentially the conclusion that she comes to is that a resolution for the conflict is extremely unlikely because when people have studied this before, they make some assumptions that Ahmad says are not true. Okay, so to sum it up really simply, she essentially argues that people assume that both sides want peace or a resolution to the conflict. And she says that if you look at the history, a bit like Avi Schlein, then if you look at the history, you see that actually Israel have not wanted peace. That's what she argues. It's very controversial, considering that a lot of Israelis have been killed in the conflict. Obviously, a lot more Palestinians, but Israeli has been killed. So it's quite a damning sort of critique of Israeli governments to say that they don't actually want peace. But if you read the article, then you can read her full argument for that claim. And yeah, she essentially says that the conflict serves interests of Israel, partly because they are more militarily powerful. So she claims they don't really need peace. Okay, so here's some key extracts. She says that most people in the literature think that not all Palestinians obstruct a land for peace deal, but that a specific extremist Palestinian faction spoils the peace process. So that it's not all Palestinians. A lot of Palestinians are quite happy to accept various resolutions that don't give them all of the land that was lost in 1967 Six-Day War, for instance. She says that's the majority view, which I think is broadly true, although things like the landslide vote for Hamas in elections might conflict with that view, but it certainly is true to an extent.